Firsts with Michelle Aiden.
I'm Michelle Aiden, and this is my first nervous breakdown, which implies I've had multiple nervous breakdowns. And that's true because I'm currently having one right fucking now. I've lost count. So I thought a nervous breakdown and a psychotic break were the same thing in my prille jeug. And I thought that meant you went to Arkham Asylum like the Joker and Harley Quinn. Not cute like Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga, the sort of uglier versions from the Michael Keaton Batmans when Arkham wasn't quite as sexy. Saul says, Veskorpies, Groendakkies, when military conscription was still a thing and segregation. But I don't want to actually talk about that because I'm already guilt-stricken and broken and lying on the floor like a Verve Pipe song. I'd Google that and download it. It's fantastic. Now, the thing with a breakdown is that you don't know you're having it. This is very important to note. It starts slow. It's quite subversive. You can't sleep. So you fall asleep and then you wake up. Or you stay asleep just for days and days and days and days in the same black clothes that you had on the Monday to the following Monday, just crying intermittently and you feel no joy. But isn't that just being a little depressed? Shouldn't you just take a shower, eat something nice, drink tea? That was my mother's way of handling it. Then everything's just going to be fine. Jy wil fokke niks nie en jy wil als breek en opvrommel en eet en uitspoeg. And you can't control your emotions. You think you can, and you're trying, like nails on a chalkboard. And for me, it's anger and frustration, which my therapist says is a blocking emotion. So anger for me is actually just being really, really sad, but I don't want to show that I'm sad because that means I'm weak. And when you are a little girl and weak, people treat you like you're a piece of shit. Anyway, they call it emotional dysregulation. I'm in formal therapy now, DBT, and learning how to be effective, not willful. Doesn't that sound smart? Almost like I know what I'm doing. Okay, nervous breakdown versus psychotic break. Let's define them nicely from the smart place, the internet. I didn't use chatbot GPT because, again, Terminator. All right, don't want no robot telling me things. So I used to Google the earlier version of Terminator, Arnold from the first movie, not the weird one that melts from the later movies. A nervous breakdown, also known as a mental health crisis or mental breakdown, describes a period of intense mental distress. Do you know anyone in 2024 living in South Africa that is not experiencing intense mental distress? I'd like to know. Just in traffic on the N1 if you live in Gauteng. People who feel they're having a nervous breakdown may be experiencing overwhelming anxiety, paranoia, or thoughts of self-harm. Those, to me, my psychiatrist would often ask me, do you want to plan a self-exit? YouTube doesn't like the other word. And I said, no, I just don't want to wake up. Or then there was a glorious movie that came out, and I think it happened in Endgame, and we watched Spider-Man, to our horror, just disintegrate. And I thought, that looks amazing. Someone could just snap, and I could just disintegrate. Now, keep in mind, I'm someone's parent, I'm someone's wife, and I'm someone's child. But I don't want this to be permanent, just for like 2 weeks, like a holiday, not by the sea, just by the see you later, a psychotic breakdown. A psychotic breakdown is any nervous breakdown that triggers symptoms of psychosis, which refers to losing touch with reality, which we can't even define. Neil deGrasse Tyson says so, and he's real smart. Psychosis is more often associated with very serious mental illness, like schizophrenia. I had a boyfriend once with schizophrenia, and he would make tea for people that weren't there. He was also a drug addict. There's a theme. And he once ate the sides of his cheeks off and spat them in my hand. Interesting sidebar. But anyone can experience these symptoms if stress becomes overwhelming, triggering a breakdown. Now, for me, I have my own analogy of a nervous breakdown. So have anyone watching or listening this had a car accident? Just a minor fender bender, maybe you've driven into a pole or someone else. It's not even that dramatic. And then the insurance sends you a letter and says, your car's written off. I'm sorry, written off. It's written off. I drove home with it, but it's been written off. We have crumple zones now that protect the occupants from the outside and the inside. Or do they? Again, let www guide us. Crumple zones are designed to absorb impact, the energy during a collision, so that most of this energy is dissipated across the zones and not in your passenger compartment. The strong outer shell with the front and rear crumple zones that help absorb the impact of the crash, increasing the safety of the occupants. To me, this is basically a nervous breakdown. The occupants of your life are fine, and it all looks fine. But you are fucked. You sweat like a pack horse and your heart is palpitating and you constantly feel like you're having a cardiac event. Oh, and the Everfund shakes. Can you see them? You can barely hold a coffee mug, but you hold it real tight, and holding a pen is a challenge. So this hits me for the first time in 2002. And I know something's not quite right here, so I go see a professional. Because obviously I'm sick, but just a GP, because with shakes and heart palpitations, I'm obviously, maybe I've got like a heart murmur, something like that. And without missing a beat, he says to me, you're having a breakdown. It's quite common with you university students. I'm genuinely shocked. I mean, genuinely shocked, because my mental health problems brought on by severe trauma had started before I was in double digits. That's a completely different traumatic podcast, but I have it under control, and I have had it under control. But now I've had this traumatic event we spoke about in the previous episode, and it seems that die tolletjie nou lostrek. But I'm only 22. Breakdowns don't discriminate. They don't care how much money you have. They don't care what color you are. They don't care how tall you are, how fat you are, how thin you are. They will come for you. Pretty privilege, whatever. They will come for you. So we're sticking with the car analogy. The insurance decides you're too expensive to replace. So this nice 40-year-old doctor tells me my brain chemicals are dysfunctional and I've burnt out. Now, when something burns out, let's say this burns out or this burns out, it's fucked. You can't use it ever again. We like to use the term medically, burnout. You got a bit of burnout. What the actual? I have shows to direct. I have theses that need to be in. I have films to shoot, to act in. I have people to please. My parents, my beloved grandparents, and my herd of friends running across my life like the Serengeti, the fucking herd of ever-present friends demanding. There are options. A, meds and therapy. B, institutionalization. I went with A because B meant I was a total and utter failure of a human at 22. So I'm in honors, drama. I have not recovered from Love Labour's Lost. And this is actually, if we think about the story I told you, not a massive surprise, but I'm struggling with basic tasks like eating, dressing in anything other than black, like every day is a funeral, and I'm talking like full funeral garb. I'm struggling being polite. I'm struggling to be kind. I'm dead inside. I'm defeated and I'm furious. I am the walking dead, but I'm not Rick fucking Grimes, okay? I am Negan. I am the apocalypse. I have sacrificed enough people to my behavior to know it was me. And some of them have loved me enough to stay. Diagnoses are fun. I have had so many. Bi this, polar that, uni this. Currently in 2024, I have one doctor saying I have this, and I have a juxtaposing physician saying I have that. It's just shit pie. Cock soup. A fork. Anyway, back to 2002. Dr. Dolittle, he's not actually a vet, he's just actually little. And he says hardly anything useful. I have major manic depression and stress-induced burnout. I'm booked off for a week because that's going to fix it. And I'm given some meds and a list of therapists. You need to go on chronic medication, Michelle, probably till you die. Your brain chemicals don't work properly and they're never going to. Wah, 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 wah. He starts sounding like a Peanuts parent. Do anyone remember them, the Peanuts parents? I just stopped listening. I just want to leave and go smoke 150,000 cigarettes at once. I head to my vehicle. And I call my mother. I'm on her medical aid. So this is not going to stay a secret, is it? Just another massive disappointment. I is broken. Are you surprised? Burning the candle on both ends. Working and trying to study. Anyway, I was on it for 4 years when you were in high school because I couldn't even handle you. They fucked me up, but maybe you'll be fine. And just go to the Medicross pharmacy. It's on the medical aid formulary list. Ek het nie nog geld om op jou kak te spandeer nie. Yes, mother. Night, mother. My mother is 7 episodes of a podcast on her own. And here we begin. My love affair, 100% inherited, and probably a genetic disposition to pills. Pills, pills, pills. Was that a song or was it thrills, thrills, thrills? I can't remember. But they must have worked because I graduated with honors, cum laude, academic colors, and 18 months later I met my husband, and we're 21 years in this year. So I can't be the monster I believe myself to be. He isn't. He's amazing. And I have a daughter, and she's light incarnate. She's a perfect universe. But when you're mentally ill, you feel inadequate, and you don't feel like you deserve anything good all the goddamn time. Zoom jump back to 2002. I didn't go to therapy as the medical aid wouldn't cover it, so I just sucked it up and was left to their pills. What do I remember from this first episode, pardon the pun? I remember covering all the windows in my room in x-rays. I'd gone home to my mom's house and stolen all her x-rays. She was a bit of a hypochondriac, so she had x-rays of like her head and her boobs and her knees and her feet and her bunions and her onions and everything. And I just covered every window that I had in my apartment in x-rays, so it would be dark as long as it could. Dark for so long that I turned into a menorah blade and cut up everyone and everything around me, especially those that I held the most dear. Because I'm going to say it again, hurt people, but broken people break people. Learned behavior. So it's been 23 years since that first one, but I was in control. No, you just change blades in your razor, especially if your triggers are everywhere. See, your mind has two minds of its own, and it switches, and the one will bitch slap the other one when you least expect it. It creeps in like home invaders, stealing your thoughts and leaving behind nothing but paranoia. Sometimes I liken it to being in an Uber. So the you that's out of control is driving, but the you that understands this is irrational is the passenger. But there's glass between the two of you, and the driver can't hear you, and you're just screaming from the back. But the driver just keeps driving. But it's the same person. So that was the first. Let's do a rundown. These are the ones I saw coming. 2011, postpartum. It took 16 months to realize that one was happening, but it's not actually a massive surprise considering it was a very traumatic pregnancy and a very traumatic birth. Seconds change your life. Different podcast. 2015, my dad died. Seconds that change your life. 2015, Father's Day, my Oma dies. Keep this in mind. Father's Day. Seconds that change your life. 2019, my mom died on Christmas. Can't even. Seconds. Time jump. 2017. So I think just because my opa's now died, my dad and my uncle in under 5 years, and my mom has now moved and come to live with me, and I have a 2-year-old, and I have a husband, and I've decided to just start a business. I'm just having a little bit of a rough time. I just want to sleep and not wake up for like a year. All the time. And then I lose my shit with my mother. And I'd been clean because I was pregnant. And I just get in my car and like a proper drug addict, drive to a quick shop and buy my Dunhill fine cut 120s. Remember the Courtly Gold Band? These are Dunhill white tips. Beautiful. I buy 2 packs. And I smoked 20 of them in 60 minutes, driving 130 down the N1 all the way to the University of Pretoria, ending up in front of the Masque Theatre, which was cognitively the last place I could remember being happy. And I realized I have a problem. And finally, I find a psychiatrist that will listen and not just pull me and pull me and pull me. He's actually listening to me. And I'm sitting there, I'm sitting there on his little grey couch, which he still has because he's still my doctor, and I'm just crying and repeating myself. Because when you're having your breakdown, you just keep repeating yourself. Maybe everything I've said in this entire episode is exactly the same thing over and over. I need you to let me know in the comments. And he says 4 words. We are admitting you. He saved my life that day. I didn't know it then, but I know it now. And that stay, that girl interrupted stay in that clinic is a 2-hour vodcast on its own. Did you know you could bleach your hair with Domestos? I did not. But patients who are not okay, a schizophrenic patient does things you cannot believe. You cannot believe that someone will give a security guard a blowjob for a grandpa powder and a Red Bull. I kid you not. What they will do for Adcodols. And I'm like, why are you here if you're not committed to getting better? Or when you're sitting next to someone who came home and found their husband hanging in the garage, and you think you've got problems. I digress. I cried for all 3 days before my admission, and I was there for 12. Seconds change your life. Now here's the rub. I think Hamlet said that. Shakespeare, isn't he great? The person who triggered 80% of all of my breakdowns was the woman that gave birth to me. I can't talk about her yet. That's just not an option. But when I get back from my 12-day attempt at getting my shit together, the first thing she says to me is, what are we having for dinner? Because she thought it would be good for me to have something to do. So I proceed to have the biggest panic attack of my life. I feel like I'm being choked, I can't breathe, and I'm going to have a heart attack. And I go lock myself in my room. And my husband knocks, and I let him in, and he says to me, forgive her, for she knows not what she does. And that was extraordinary, because it was in that moment that I realized I had 2 choices. I could fight with her forever because I wanted to be right. Or I could choose to be happy. Think on that. 2023 and 2024 finds me in the midst of a midlife crisis as I'm about to turn 45. When you watch this, I will be 45. Can you believe it? I don't look a day over 3500 years old. In an ocean of new medication and 26 weeks of intensive dialectical behavioral therapy, because I need to unlearn traumatic behavior that has been bred into me my whole life. I need tools to stop being a menorah blade. Maybe I can learn to be a Lady Beck. You know, those little throwaway razors? Not too dangerous. And thank God for friends. They love you even if you're certifiable. I'm not certifiable. I'm just in despair, questioning my worth, my existence, and this is not quite how I pictured what I didn't know I was picturing. Midlife crisis, it's next level. Can't I just want new boobs and a fancy car and a new husband? Isn't that what happens? Have some sort of like epic affair with like a 20-year-old. No, I can't want that. I want bigger things. I don't want any of those things. The boobs are fine. I like my husband a lot. And the car, my mother left me that car, and as diabolical and dialectical and weird as our relationship was, she was my best friend and I adored her, and we had such cool adventures in that car. So I don't want a new car. I just want calm and joy. I deserve. I need to say that. It's in my notes. In the very expensive notes I got from my very expensive therapy. Radical acceptance. It's my way to grace. Radical acceptance. I thought that was a bad. I also have a shamanic coach, but that again is a different story. And he sent me this. The most beautiful people we have known are those who have known defeat, known suffering, known struggle, known loss, who have found their way out of the depths of hell. Those persons have an appreciation, a sensitivity, and an understanding of life that fills them with compassion, gentleness, and a deep loving concern. Beautiful people don't just happen, and that gives me hope, because maybe I can be beautiful too. I didn't just happen. But let's end here.
Firsts with Michelle Aiden.